So you threw your waste in a recycling can. Congratulations, you fulfilled your duty as a citizen. Or did you?
I don't think it's my duty to recycle all the failings of others. This was going to be the start of a reaction video about recycling. Unfortunately, the stream was very long and not very engaging. Instead, I'm going to quickly summarize some of the key points made during that stream. Note that these are just thoughts, and people smarter than me have undoubtedly addressed these subjects already. A short while ago, I came across an article highlighting the following. Councils are stepping up enforcement on recycling contamination, where a single incorrect item like a greasy pizza box, plastic bag, or takeaway container can lead to an entire truckload being rejected and sent to landfill. In some areas, repeat offenders have been issued fixed penalty notices, and waste experts say many residents
still don't understand the financial risk of putting non-recyclables in the wrong bin.
On one hand, a number of governments emotionally blackmail citizens into recycling or buying electric cars. On the other hand, these same governments still allow supermarkets to sell items in packaging that cannot be recycled. The immediate counter-argument is that some packaging can be recycled if brought back to participating supermarkets. The assumption, seemingly, is that people have the time, money, transport, and physical ability to do so. The further implication is that this process does not increase a person's carbon footprint, or that any increase is not simply a byproduct of supermarkets' refusal to decrease their own. Let's imagine for a moment that every single person in the country started bringing their trash back to participating supermarkets. Evidently, the process only works now because hardly anyone does it. So why do governments allow this? Because they collect taxes on both the revenue and the profit of supermarkets, which are boosted by the sale of items in cheap, non-recyclable packaging. In my opinion, by law, everything sold in a supermarket should come in fully recyclable packaging. Film, tray, cardboard, everything. It is also my view that the same law should forbid supermarkets from increasing the cost of such items as a result. Instead, supermarkets should be made to reduce their profit margins. If this fails, governments should at the very least incentivize supermarkets by offering tax cuts to those who sell items in recyclable packaging. My message to government officials is simple. If you can do it, do it. Do not ask people on the receiving end of your greed and of the greed of the main producers of that trash to do it for you or for them. And most of all, have the decency not to threaten these people with fines for failing to align with your demented logic. Collected material is sent to material recovery facilities, MRFs. Material recovery facilities, where it is sorted and processed. These facilities can handle hundreds of tons of waste daily. I will link the video I originally watched in the description, but in short, the conveyor belts clearly move too quickly for workers to inspect anything properly. In some instances, it even looked as if people on the line were daydreaming and picking items at random. UK recycling statistics sound impressive on paper. In 2024, 74% of paper and cardboard packaging was reportedly recycled, but these figures only apply to obligated producers, companies with a turnover above £2 million and handling more than 50 tons of packaging per year. Smaller producers are excluded. So what does that figure actually mean? How is it compiled? Beyond virtue signaling, how is the real environmental gain actually measured? Especially when recycling is often tied to profitability. High-value plastics are recycled, while low-value plastics like bottle caps and plastic bags are simply incinerated or dumped. Online platforms like Amazon facilitate the sale of mass-produced items, many of them cheap, disposable, or poorly made. Each of these items is produced in the thousands or even millions. Households are also saturated with unnecessary electronics. Multiple TVs, tablets, computers, all constantly replaced with the latest models. None of this is about need. It is about convenience and status. The result is endless waste, amplified by two forces: convenience culture and click economy. In all fairness, when it comes to consumerism and waste creation, we are collectively lazy, addicted to convenience, and unwilling to change habits. People criticize governments for not caring, yet they themselves cannot be bothered to change. It becomes a cycle of frustration, blame, and inaction. Evolution is not always progress. We have become increasingly skilled at creating things that divide us and dumb us down. The middle ground is the only realistic goal, consuming more consciously, caring about the environment we depend on, and accepting that survival depends on collective responsibility, which is simply impossible if we destroy it. After centuries of progress, discovery, and conflict, it is disappointing that, as a species, we remain so divided and so intent on competing and fighting for things that have no actual, tangible worth. Gold, for example, only has value because somebody once said so, a group of people agreed, and the wider population accepted it as fact, as unquestionable as rain being wet. Quite pathetic, actually. Do you know what else is pathetic? A driver Citroën C1, which is a small, efficient car. Compare that to the SUVs flooding the market, the big ones, the very big ones. Vehicles with enormous emissions from construction and later disposal, and even larger footprints when you add the massive batteries in the electric versions. Over time, my second-hand car will probably produce fewer emissions than those SUVs. And what are they even about? There is often more actual room in a hatchback or a people carrier than in most of them. Yet a large number of people driving these oversized cars do not have a family, do not travel, and have no real reason to justify driving such a stupidly large vehicle. And yet they do. Here's an example. The original version could carry 7 people and was smaller than the current version. Applying today's safety features to a model resembling the original would have been more than enough if the goal had really been space or safety. The birth of the big SUV was never about space or safety. It was about virtue signaling, status, fashion, and that's that. And money, and tax, and, one last time, governments that would still rather fine the very people who pay their employees' salaries for not being perfect at recycling. Perfect at recycling. Perfect at recycling. Perfect at recycling.